Hello friends, in this session I am going to take up for discussion naxalism, which is one of the threat to internal security of the country. And I will be explaining to all of you what is naxalism, why many a times it is referred as left-wing extremism, why some section of media report naxalism as Maoist insurgency, and sometimes it is even referred as Maoism. And we will try to understand that how this problem started in India, what were the factors responsible for a spread of this problem, and what steps government has taken in the recent past because of which we are witnessing declining trend in Naxal violence in India. But first, you need to understand what is naxalism. You need to understand why many a times it is referred as left-wing extremism, why some section of media terms this problem as Maoist insurgency. So we are all set to start the discussion on naxalism, and technically this problem is referred as left-wing extremism, and some section of media is reporting this problem as Maoist insurgency. Maoist insurgency. Okay. So same problem referred with different names because of slight difference in the approach towards the problem, the way we see the problem. So naxalism, whether we call it naxalism or whether we call it left-wing extremism or whether we call it Maoist insurgency, we are referring to the same problem. All these, right, remains a big threat to internal security of the country. Internal security of country. It remains a big threat, though it is a fact that in the last 5-6 years we have seen decline in the Naxal incidents, we have seen significant decline in Naxal violence, but with this fact that the country has witnessed decline in Naxal incidents as well as Naxal violence, it remains a big threat to the internal security of the country, because in between we see some big attack by Naxals on security forces, and some Naxal violence is what is getting reported. And when there is a big attack, it's a demoralizing factor for the state and security forces. So it remains a big problem as far as internal security of the country is concerned. This you need to understand, and you need to have this awareness that last 6-7 years in this country we are seeing a declining trend as far as Naxal violence or Naxal incidents or deaths reported in Naxal violence is concerned. So definitely this is what is the trend, and we will do the trend analysis in a subsequent video or session, but in this session we will try to understand what is naxalism. So first I will let you know what is naxalism. See, why this threat to internal security of the country is referred as naxalism. Why this threat to internal security of the country is referred as naxalism? Because, right, it is referred as naxalism because this problem started in 1967 as a threat to internal security. We say that the problem was there, but as a threat to the internal security. The problem started in 1967 from a small village in West Bengal called Naxalbari. So problem started from Naxalbari village, and this Naxalbari village is in West Bengal. Which state of India? West Bengal. And in which part of West Bengal? Northern part of West Bengal. Okay, northern part of West Bengal. This village is located in West Bengal. Those who haven't know much about Naxalbari, for them I would just like to tell them that where is this Naxalbari located. So you can see, right, this is the location of Naxalbari. Okay, this is very near to Siliguri in West Bengal. In the northern part of West Bengal, you can see the location of this Naxalbari village. Okay, so very near to Siliguri, near to Darjeeling in the northern part of West Bengal. In the northern part of West Bengal, Naxalbari village. So this problem started in Naxalbari village of West Bengal, which is in northern part, and this problem started in the form of, this problem started in the form of class struggle. The problem started in the form of class struggle. So initially it was a class struggle. Okay, and on one side was landlords, and other side in this class struggle, landless farmers. Okay, so it started in the form of class struggle. In history and in polity, you will study about land reforms. So immediately after independence, we decided to abolish Jamindari, and we initiated the process of land reforms by enacting laws. Different state governments started, different states started enacting laws to initiate the process of land reforms, so that there is fair distribution of land. But this land reforms was not carried out the way it should have been, and this is why in different form the landlordism continued, or Jamindari continued in some parts of India. And landlords were very much inclined towards maximizing their profit. So because of that, in many parts what we saw, beginning of exploitation at their hand, to whom? Those landless laborers or landless farmers who were working in their field. So in 1967, this problem started in West Bengal in the form of class struggle. On one side was landlords, and on other side was landless laborers and farmers. And I would just like you to tell you the story, what actually happened in Naxalbari village. So in Naxalbari village, there was a very exploitative landlord, and he sent goons to grab the land of small farmers and forced people to work in their field without remuneration. Okay, and this is the reason why the landless laborers and small farmers of this village, they organized themselves militarily under the leadership of Charu Majumdar and Kanu Sanyal, and attacked the goons of landlord. And this incident is referred in history as beginning of Naxalism in India. Okay, so I would just like you all to remember that in Naxalbari village, the landless laborers and farmers organized themselves militarily under the leadership of Charu Majumdar and Kanu Shanyal. Okay. And interesting thing, these two were themselves from landlord family, but they were against the idea of exploitation of landless laborers. So what happened in Naxalbari village in 1967? In Naxalbari village in 1967, the landless farmers and those laborers who used to work in the field of or in the land of landlords, they organized themselves militarily and attacked the goons who were sent by the landlords, and this incident is referred as beginning or triggering of naxalism in India. And these landless laborers and farmers organized themselves militarily under the leadership of Charu Majumdar and Kanu Shanyal. Now what happened with the passage of time, and this is what is, with the passage of time, we saw increase in violence in this class struggle. So what happened, right? What happened that the violence, continued increasing. With time, right, the violence in this Naxalbari movement continued increasing. In initial days, it was people's movement. It was a class struggle. One side, privileged class. Another side, underprivileged class. And it was a class struggle between landlords and landless laborers and farmers. But with time, the quantum of violence increased and this whole movement, acquired a very ugly shape. And today, no more it is a class struggle. Okay, so with time, this whole problem turned into an armed struggle. So today, naxalism is no more a class struggle, armed struggle. Today, it is an armed struggle, and in this armed struggle, on one side, what we are finding? On one side, we are finding who? A state. And on other side, what we are finding? Some sections, right? Some sections of the society, okay, and these sections of the society are basically from which part of India? Very remote and poorly connected, very poorly connected pockets, and even this you will find basically in the tribal belt, densely forested area, very densely forested area. You will find this remote and mining belt of the country. So some sections of the society, they developed a feel that they have been left out of the process of development, and they have developed anger against the state. They have picked up arms against the state, and they want to overthrow the existing political, social, economic structure through the barrels of gun, and state left with no option is using force to disarm them, and this what has essentially given birth to what is termed as armed struggle. So in initial days, naxalism, when it started in Naxalbari village in 1967, was in the form of class struggle. But with passage of time, the quantum of violence increased and this whole class struggle turned into a completely different shape and face, and it became an armed struggle with one side state and other side some sections of the society in remote and poorly connected pockets of India who developed a feel that they have been left out of the process of development. Development has not reached to them. They have not been benefited with the process of development. They felt that misery in their life is on account of failure of the state to reach out to them. So some of them decided to pick up arms against the state to overthrow the existing socio-economic political structures, and state left with no other option started using force to disarm them, because in civilized society and in a democratic country there is no space for violence, no matter what. Okay, no matter what. Even if you are not satisfied with state's action, you have to raise voice through a democratic process, through a democratic means, not through the barrels of gun. And therefore the state is using force to disarm them, and this has given birth to what essentially is called armed struggle. So why this problem is, right, why, and all of you should remember this, that in a civilized society and in a democratic country, there is no space for violence, no matter what. Many a times we may have sympathy with suffering, but suffering will not give license to anyone to kill others and kill even those who are working for the state. So bloodshed, violence, killings cannot be justified at all. You need to be very, very particular whenever you are writing answer in exam or you are expressing. You should have deeper understanding that in a country like India, the father of nation taught the world the philosophy of truth and non-violence. There is no space for violence in any civilized society, and of course in any democratic country. So have you understood? This problem is known as naxalism because it started from Naxalbari village in 1967, and in initial days it was a class struggle. With time, the component of violence, the quantum of violence continued increasing, and soon this whole movement got transformed into an armed struggle, and today it is no more class struggle. It is an armed struggle between state on one side and some young people in remote part of India, poorly connected pockets of India, in the tribal belt of India, in the mining belt of India, in the densely forested part of India, and these young people have developed a feel that they have not been benefited with the process of development. They have been left out completely in the process of development. The state has failed to reach out to them. All problems in their life, the poverty, misery, suffering is on account of failure of the state to reach out to them, and they decided to pick up arms against the state, and the state, left with no other option, is now making attempts through use of force to disarm them, and this has given birth to armed struggle. And this is one of the threat to the internal security of the country. So this is what is naxalism. Now, why it is known as left-wing extremism? Okay, and this is the technical thing. So I would just like you all to remember this, that this leftist word we use for those people who believe in communist ideology. Okay, so anyone who has believed in communism or communist ideology, for them worldwide we use the word leftist. So left basically signifies opposing, opposition. Okay, but worldwide we are using this word leftist for whom? Those who believe in communist ideology. Now, what is communist ideology? This is again something which you need to understand. Okay, so whenever we use this word communist ideology, so economically, communism is what? Economically, communism is opposed to the idea of private ownership. In a communist economic setup, no source of income, okay, can be owned by any private individual. All sources of income and means of production are collectively owned by society. Okay, so there is no private ownership in communist economic setup. Okay, this is number one. Number two, communism is about contribution according to abilities but consumption according to need. So everybody in a communist country has to contribute for which you are competent, but can consume only which you need. So contribution according to abilities and consumption according to needs. That is what is the theme within communist economic setup. Otherwise, sociologically, communism is classless society. So, in a communist society, you will not find divides, you will not find discrimination, you will not find rift and gaps. There is no divide. Classless society. There is nothing called rich or poor, nothing called employee, employer, nothing called, privileged, underprivileged. Everybody based on their abilities have to contribute, but they can consume based on needs. So classless society. Okay, communism is classless society. So we are using the word left-wing extremism for naxalism. Why? Because all those who are attached, affiliated with Naxal movement in India, they want to establish communist rule in this country, communist economic setup, but they want to do this through the barrels of gun. They want to do this with arms against the state. All those who are attached with Naxal movement, they are saying that the existing socio-economic political setup is not acceptable. We will establish a new order, new economic order, new social order, new political structure in this country with communism in its, focal point, in its central theme. But they want to do this through barrels of gun. They want to do this through violence. They want to do this through killings and bloodshed. And this is why we are using the word left-wing extremism. So they want to form extreme form of communist socio-economic political setup through barrels of gun. Through violence, they want to overthrow the existing socio-economic political structures and setup, and they want to establish a new setup, and the new setup will be governed by communist ideology, and this is the reason why experts are using the word left-wing extremism. Okay, so the problem started from Naxalbari village in 1967, and in initial days it was a class struggle, but later on it turned into an armed struggle, and all those who are associated with this armed struggle movement, Naxal movement, they want to overthrow the democratic setup in this country. They want to change the socio-economic order in this country, but they want to change this through violence, through barrels of gun, and they want to establish communist setup or a new setup which will be based on communist ideology, and this is the reason why we are using the word, right? We are using the word left-wing extremism. And I would say, right, I would not hesitate to say that majority of them who are associated with this Naxal movement, they have romantic illusions about left-wing movements. They have romantic illusion, and their illusion is arising because of their incomplete understanding of communist ideology. They don't understand exactly what is communist ideology. Okay, so why this problem is termed as left-wing extremism is clear, and this is the word which even government is using in its, reports, in its documents, and this is why technically you should use the word left-wing extremism. Otherwise, the problem is known to people with this name naxalism. We are also using the word Maoist insurgency. Maoist insurgency. Maoist insurgency for this problem. And why we are using the word Maoist insurgency? Because I hope some of you might have heard about, about Mao Zedong. Okay. Mao Zedong. Okay. And he is also known with this name, Mao Zedong. So it's all about Mandarin and English. Okay, so same person. So Mao, and he is popular in the name Chairman Mao. Okay, he is popular with this name, Chairman Mao. Okay, so Mao Zedong or Mao Zedong, a revolutionary, a great Chinese revolutionary leader. He is considered the founder of modern China. And in the, in the beginning of 20th century, we saw birth of Chinese revolution, and later on that revolution was spearheaded by Mao Zedong, and that led to the establishment of modern China, today's China, in 1949. So many a times he is known as father or founder of modern China. modern, right, China or Chin, Democratic Republic of China, okay, Democratic Republic of China. So, Republic of China, not Democratic Republic of China, Republic of China, okay. So, father or founder, and he is a revolutionary leader, okay. He is one of the communist philosopher, thinker and a revolutionary leader. Under him only we saw Chinese revolution, and he was, he has ruled China, from the day of its establishment in 1949 till his death, in 1976. And in which capacity he ruled China? He was the chairman of Central Committee of Communist Party of China. So, in which capacity he ruled? Right, in which capacity he ruled? He was chairman of Central Committee, right, chairman of Central Committee of Communist Party of China. In this capacity, he ruled China from the day of its establishment in 1949 till the death in 1976. Mao, a revolutionary Chinese, leader. And one of the saying of Mao, you all must have heard. He used to say that power runs from the barrel of gun. He, during Chinese Revolution, asked landless farmers to pick up arms against the state, to overthrow the existing setup there and to establish a new order and a new communist order. This is why, right, this is why Mao is considered a revolutionary leader. So, what is Maoism? Right, what is Maoism? Because what he said, right, what he said that power runs from barrel of gun. If you will keep on demanding, protesting, your demand will go unheard, your protest will go unnoticed. But if you will pick up arms against the state, then the state will listen and there can be changes. See, I hope you might have heard about Lenin, okay, and you might have heard about Mao now. You are hearing about Mao. What is the difference between Marxism and Maoism? Marx was another communist thinker, philosopher, leader. He was of the opinion that laborers are essential revolutionary class. Meaning, when laborers will participate in a revolutionary movement, then only that movement can be successful. But Mao was of the firm view that landless laborers, that is farmers, are the essential revolutionary class. This is where some difference is there between Marxism and Maoism. But both were very much governed by communist ideology. Mao said power runs from barrel of gun. And what is happening, when we are using the word Maoism, actually we are using this word Maoism for the administrative strategies, the military doctrines, and the economic policies and the social order which Mao Zedong attempted establishing in China during his rule. So, the administrative strategies, the economic policies, the military doctrine and the kind of social order he attempted establishing during his rule in China together is known as Maoism. Only problem with this Mao was that during Chinese Revolution, he appealed that if the state is not listening, then pick up arms against the state. He used to say that power runs from the barrel of gun. Okay, so what I would suggest you that why this problem is known as Maoist insurgency, because those who are associated with Naxal movement in India, Naxal movement in India, and particularly, especially I would use the word especially the younger generation, and in which part of India? Remote part, poorly connected pockets of India, in the tribal belt, in the mining belt, in the forested part of India. The younger generation, they have romantic illusions. And they have romantic illusions about what? Maoism. And this romantic illusion is basically arising out of incomplete understanding of Maoist ideology. And what they are doing, their central theme is violence. Central theme of what they are doing is violence. Central theme is violence. Okay. Central theme is violence. They are, glorifying violence. They celebrate killings. They cheer bloodshed. And they feel that power runs from barrel of gun means you have to pick up arms against the state, and then you have to throw the democratic structure. You have to change the socio-economic political setup through barrels of gun. This is the reason why experts have started using word Maoist insurgency for Naxalism, because they are very much influenced by one saying of the great revolutionary leader from China, communist leader from China, Mao Zedong or Mao Zedong, that power runs from the barrel of gun. But we use the word Maoism, in a holistic manner for what? The administrative strategies, the military doctrine, the economic policies, and the social order which Mao Zedong during his rule in China attempted establishing. But younger generation have romantic illusions about Maoism, Maoist ideology, and their illusion is arising primarily out of their incomplete understanding of this ideology. But what they are doing, their central theme is violence, and this is the reason why for Naxalism we are also using the word Maoist insurgency. So whether we call it Naxalism, whether we call it left-wing extremism, whether we call it Maoist insurgency, we are referring to same problem. But nomenclature is different because of different regions, and those regions I have explained to you. But Naxalism or left-wing extremism remains a threat to the internal security of the country, and you should have this awareness that in past 6-7 years, the country has seen declining trend in Naxal violence, Naxal incidents. However, in between some big Naxal incidents are happening, which is a demoralizing factor for state and security forces, and therefore Naxalism or left-wing extremism remains a threat to the internal security of the country.